Good evening, everyone. I'd like to go ahead and call to order this regular meeting of the Board of Finance. This is our annual statutory or required meeting where we take this opportunity to hear from anyone who would like to make comments about any aspect of the budget for the town. That includes the town's budget as well as the budget for the Board of Education. So thank you for coming this evening. This is a lighter turnout than what we've had before, but I would encourage anyone who's watching tonight, to the extent that you have comments but have not been able to come here to this meeting tonight, we do want to hear from you, and we'll take your comments very seriously. I guess I'd just start off by saying this is the time when the Board of Finance kicks off its budget process. We received the budgets from both the town and the Board of Education last week, and this is sort of the first opportunity that we have to hear from all of you before we engage in our formal review process. I have been quite happy, actually, by the way, to see the level of engagement to this point. I've noted that there have been folks not just commenting on the budget process so far this year, but actually engaging across the town and up in Hartford. It's been great to see so many elected officials as well as representatives and citizens of the town engaging the state on some of these important issues. It's critical to our town that we're heard, especially because they're considering a lot of legislation that could directly impact us, particularly regarding special education excess cost reimbursement. So I applaud anyone who's been up in Hartford and engaging in that process. That's fantastic and something that is important to do all the time, not just at budget time. So we're going to kick things off. We only have 2 speakers signed up tonight, so if anyone has an urge after hearing these 2 speakers to join their ranks and address us publicly, we'd be happy to do that. But I think Sarah and Julie, you guys are up first, so we're happy to hear from you. And again, thank you for coming.
Good evening. I'm Julie Best.
And I am Sarah Parent. We are the co-chairs of CDSP, the Council of Darien School Parents, and as such, we stand here tonight representing the entire parent community in Darien. We are here tonight to share our thoughts on the Board of Education's 2020-2021 budget. Darien schools have seen much transition over the past decade. We are thrilled to stand here this evening and say that we have the utmost confidence in Dr. Adley, and we are already impressed with his leadership and ability to bring different constituencies together. We are lucky to have him. We are grateful for the many hours spent by the district administration and the Board of Education to develop a budget that allows the Darien Public Schools to continue to offer an excellent education to all Darien students. We believe this budget is lean, financially responsible, and maintains the high standards for which Darien is known. Thanks to your hard work, along with that of Darien's other elected officials, Darien is in excellent financial health. We are grateful for your consistent support of Darien's youth, and we know you share our belief that our town's strength is tied directly to the strength of our public school system. We know you are well aware that the percentage of the budget that represents discretionary spending has been declining in recent years. There are many factors contributing to that decline. One in particular that we want to highlight is the contractual obligations to our teachers. While we made some improvements in the new contract, it is still not enough in our opinion. Schools are nothing without strong teachers. Darien still has a lot of work to do as a district to prioritize our teachers and staff and to ensure that Darien attracts and retains the best teaching talent. This budget is coming at a time of great unknowns at all levels, national, state, and local. Connecticut's continuing financial struggles means we can rely less and less on support from the state. Proposals in this year's state legislative session, particularly HB 5433 and its potential change in excess cost funding, could potentially put even more pressure on our already stretched budget. We gave testimony opposing 5433 in Hartford yesterday, as did Mrs. Achman and Dr. Adley, in the hope of changing that conversation. Certainly there are funding issues to solve, but it's currently unclear how the changing funding might affect Darien students' outcomes and what programming or innovation could be affected, and that is our primary objection.
Locally, we have concerns about the challenge of predicting enrollment accurately. Of late, enrollment numbers seem to be in flux, and we believe we can expect this trend to continue with the new building projects in town. For this year, due to variability across many grades, plus a number of late enrollees, we have many elementary school sections that are above what the district has identified as optimal. We need to be sure we have adequate resources and budget control to ensure the flexibility to adjust class sections when and as needed. This year's budget does not include any big new or innovative initiatives. We don't see that as a bad thing, as we think allowing Dr. Adley some time to understand the needs of Darien students and staff is imperative to thoughtful stewardship of the district. But looking ahead and armed with the new strategic plan that's presently being developed, we expect to see good conversation at the Board of Education table about moving the district forward. We hope that the Board of Finance will support this forward progress, as it will most likely not be free. A final concern would be the relatively low capital expenses in this budget, when we know there's much more to come in the near future. We understand that replacing a roof or overhauling an HVAC system before it is needed is a waste of money. However, it's unfortunate that we're not able to space out these larger projects over time, and hope that moving forward we might do better at that. We eagerly await the results of the architect's study on replacing the portables and reimagining our schools' libraries. These endeavors will also come with a large price tag, but are much needed and past due. In closing, we thank you all for your time and your commitment to Darien. More than ever, we need all of our elected officials and town leaders to be cooperative and collaborative. That means relying on all involved to bring their own areas of expertise to the matters at hand and respecting others to do the same. To that end, we ask that you continue to support our schools and send a strong message to Darien's residents that you support our Board of Education and the school administration. Thanks for the chance to speak this evening. Do you want copies, John?
Okay, our second speaker, thank you very much. Second speaker, Jeffrey Zimmerman.
Thank you, John. I don't have any prepared remarks. That was really nice. I just came to, give a little perspective from the parent of a special needs child. My son is in the DLC at Hindley, and the people who work at Hindley, his teacher's Heather Riley, his paras Laura Martinez, are extraordinary. We have an incredible program and incredible people who work there. So while I can't speak intelligently about the budget at all, I haven't seen it, don't know anything about it, but continued support for the teachers in general, but especially the special ed teachers is, of paramount importance to a small percentage of the residents, but I think it makes a big difference to the town. I'm a trust and estates attorney, and I talk to all kinds of people about all kinds of planning, and oftentimes it comes back to Darien, and I do special needs planning, and we are well known throughout the state, throughout New York, and parts of New Jersey, and even as far as California, for having premier special ed services. So I would encourage whatever support there is for that to remain, and to whatever extent possible, increase. With that said, I also want to kind of just discuss briefly the preparations for potentially closing the schools, e-learning, distance learning, and how that's, what's going on there. And we've received, Dr. Adley has sent a bunch of communications that have been very informative as to the plans for the general ed population. But this part, I'm speaking on behalf of myself as well as a bunch of other families, because we've all been in contact, but nobody's been in contact with us. There's been no communication to anybody about what's the plan for special needs. And nobody expects anyone to have an answer, because what we're facing now and trying to figure out if schools are going to close and if there's ISP capacity, there's a gargantuan task that, the board, the teachers, administrators, I'm sure are doing a great job trying to tackle. But the special ed parents seem to have gotten lost in there, because we have no idea if anybody's even thought about our kids. Now, I know that's not true, but I don't have any evidence. So, again, I applaud our programs, our teachers, and the people who work in the special ed, and to the extent that they need more support to, have the time or the ability to, to get the word out or to bring us in, to help sort this out, please. Thank you.
Jeff, thank you for that. Those are our two speakers. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to say this evening? Okay. I'll close by thanking everyone for coming this evening. I know everyone remains concerned about preparations for the coronavirus. We've all taken a look at the state's actions today. Mrs. Stevenson has put out guidance for the town, and that continues to evolve on a daily, if not hourly basis. I know the school system and administration is all actively involved in that. I would urge everyone to stay abreast of those developments and to follow their lead and their guidance and instructions as closely as possible as we work to navigate this challenge. That said, I do appreciate everyone coming this evening. We look forward to engaging you as this budget process evolves and unfolds for the next month or so. We'll be voting to set a mill rate in April, but between now and then, that's when we'll be doing our review. And as I said, I'd be more than happy to entertain any suggestions or input as this process continues. So thank you very much for coming. Can I get a motion to, yes, Dan?
This couple here, I know intends to speak. Is that fair,
Yeah.
Hank?
Oh.
So if we could suspend
Okay.
the adjournment?
All right. You're late, but that's okay. This is not school, so you don't get penalized. What's your name, sir?
Hank Wilson.
Hank Wilson, you're up next.
All right, Hank Wilson, 527 Middlesex Road. These are just two questions for the Board of Finance regarding Highland Farm. I'm aware that obviously $609,000 has already been appropriated, so I'm not going to speak about obviously that. Just a couple questions for the Board of Finance that would be appreciated as you consider your budget. One would be just how that number actually came about, as none of us as neighbors have any idea where the $609,000, how that number came to be. You know, was there contractors, was there landscaping firms who bid on the project, was people that provided the estimates, obviously to arrive at that number. And the reason is that number actually the right amount of money to properly construct the parking lots, as well as provide the appropriate landscaping. This is obviously a very visible property, and if it's not the appropriate amount of money, and that either the landscaping is not going to be done properly, the parking lots are going to be able to be done properly because it's going to be under budgeted. I think it's important for the town to be obviously able to do this right, and if the money needs to be spent to do it right, it quite possibly could be a lot more than $609,000. And then the last question would be, moving forward, what is the Board of Finance obviously discussing any annual maintenance budget around the property? Does the town, Park and Rec, have the proper budgets in place in order to maintain Highland Farm to the degree I think all of us would want? Obviously, if it's the landscaping obviously being maintained properly, obviously the facilities, et cetera, should obviously be in consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Hank. Appreciate the elbows and not shaking hands. We will take those questions seriously and endeavor to answer them as part of our process. Any last-minute additions for speakers this evening? Okay, again, thank you everyone for coming. Could I get a motion to adjourn, please? Jim, second. Dan, thanks very much. We're adjourned. Take care.